Hello, it's Melissa Sweet here, public health journalist from Croakey. Very delighted today that we're participating in an act of walking journalism, a Croakey Go, and we have the great privilege of walking with Tirritpa Ritchie, who is a paediatric occupational therapist. Here we are on Kaurna Country, and I'd like to acknowledge that. And Tirritpa, could you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yep.
And we're particularly interested in hearing about how you use walking in your practice.
Yep. My name is Tirritpa Ritchie. I'm an occupational therapist. My passion is around paediatric, but also around Aboriginal health. I'm currently a lecturer with the University of South Australia. And one of the things that I do as part of my work at UniSA is conducting a walking classroom with my OT students at the moment. So that classroom, we walk along the banks of the river of the along the River Torrens, and we teach a little bit about local Kaurna people and the knowledges and the history and contexts, but we also put in what does that mean on health and what are these broader public health issues and their impact specifically for Aboriginal people, and specifically some of the knowledges that we can learn and implement in our everyday lives, but also in some of our policies that are specific Aboriginal knowledges around ways of knowing, being and doing that are I guess a healthy way of living. So we use that particular classroom as a primary health course, but we brought in all these different knowledges from these specific areas, and it's a great way for students who have not been had that interaction previously with Aboriginal people or might not know some of the histories and also some of the current health outcomes and successes of people working in the area. So we might be talking around traditional ways of eating, in particular foods and cultural practices related to that, but we'll be relating to some of the stuff around diabetes, but then also some of the nutritional health pathways and some of the healthy lifestyles of eating and maintaining that connection to culture on country, and so the healthy foods and delicacies that Aboriginal peoples do partake in and still do have, and how that impact upon health, so on an individual level, on a societal level, but then also on a policy and strategic planning level as well. So it's an opportunity there for the students to make that connection to stuff that happened hundreds of years ago is still having an impact and continues to have an impact. And I guess that saying of the history is not in the past, but the history is in the present and currently what we are dealing with now. So that's some of the opportunities that we provide for some of our students, and some of the stuff that's happening today as well.
Fantastic. And so you mentioned the history of the hundreds of years, but the history of the tens of thousands of years as well, and you refer to the use of Aboriginal knowledges.
Yep.
I was struck by one of your comments that as Aboriginal people you learn how to learn, and that just seems of such contemporary significance.
Yeah, exactly.
So could you explain that a little bit more?
Yep, so I was saying earlier around Kaurna people, we have about 5 different words for education and teaching, and they aren't necessarily into me talking to you and telling you what to do kind of process. And I guess this comes from I guess the Western knowledges and Aboriginal knowledges on education and how we learn. So I think within Aboriginal knowledges there is a lot there, specifically just looking at education and learning and the different processes of how we do it. And so one of the things that we do as Kaurna people, and traditionally we have done for thousands of years, is we don't teach what to learn, but we teach how to learn. And so that identifying the processes of what benefits for you. And we don't necessarily get that process, well, in my experience, is till we are in university. And so university, we kind of adapt those techniques and those strategies of how we're going to learn this information as best as possible. And that's what we are taught from day dot. And so I think if we introduce that process much earlier in the education system, and there are Aboriginal academics and educating academics that do write quite prolifically on this, ways of learning and teaching, I think there's definitely a lot to be learnt there from our Aboriginal knowledges.
And we talked earlier also about the importance of providing culturally safe workplaces for
Definitely.
Aboriginal health professionals,
Yep.
patients.
Yep, exactly.
Would you like to elaborate on that, what you mean by that?
So within our workspaces, and I guess what we are trying to aim to is for positive outcomes in Aboriginal health, education, employment, teaching, all these sort of areas. And to do that, we need to be able to create this space which facilitates this process. And I guess we've got to work across multiple levels, and so having those Aboriginal health professionals, those Aboriginal educators in there on the ground working to provide that knowledge which I spoke to previously, and to bring in some of that. And obviously being the one person in an organisation is going to be really, really hard to, if you're 1% of the organisation, it's going to be hard for you to make that change lifting up. And so you need that multiple levels of approach to provide that specific outcome. And so if you're looking at trying to create culturally safe spaces, you need to create this cultural readiness within the entire organisation for these Aboriginal educators to come in and make the most powerful impact that they can do. And so that's there for us as all Australians to be able to provide a health, education or whatever outcome for the improvement of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And so creating a culturally safe space isn't just up to one individual. It is an organisational wide kind of level, and that we have to go through certain learning processes and certain decolonisation processes as well to be able to get to those outcomes. And it is a journey, and it's a journey that as an organisation you need to be on, and as individuals you need to be on. And I think just as people, just every day, I think if we can practice that in everyday lives, we will be much more empathetic and compassionate to our fellow humans.
So for organisations listening to this message, how can they know that they're on this path, or how do they know they're not on this path? What are some of the signs?
Some of the warning signs will obviously be a little bit different from area to area, and the easiest thing to kind of see is people do vote with their feet. And so if you're not having the engagement that you currently want to have or need to have, you might think about what are some of the opportunities and the ways that we can engage and move along on that journey. And I guess that journey isn't a specific starting point, and it's not a specific end point. You might be somewhere along it, but how do you need to progress along it?
And so is this your first experience of walking journalism?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so
I think it melds so beautifully with your walking classroom,
yep.
because
Definitely,
you're
definitely.
being so generous in sharing your knowledge
Definitely.
with us today.
Definitely.
What would you like us all to take away from this walking journalism, whether it's us who are here in real life with you or people who are watching online?
I guess I definitely would like to see, I guess, coming back to that journey analogy, people taking away in a reciprocal process and moving along with that journey. And you might go into certain directions and find out certain specific information. Oh, I'm really interested in that language aspect. I'm really interested in this walking journalism aspect. And how can I bring that back to my own journey, but moving along on, I guess, your cultural journey to I guess assist in any sort of way or play your particular role into the health outcomes or whatever outcomes for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and all people, I guess.
And you encouraged us to find out about local language, the area where we live?
Yeah, yep. There's a lot that you can find out from your local councils, if you have your local language groups, organisations, your local art galleries or cultural centres. I encourage you to find out what is the local language and learn a few words in that local language. That's a great insight into Aboriginal cultures and histories.
And do you Do you offer workshops more widely like this?
For this, it would be fantastic too. At the moment, just within the University of South Australia with my teaching cohort. But who knows? Hopefully, this might have some other opportunities outside.
That would be terrific. Do you mind just holding up your name tag so that people watching can just see your name clearly, where you're from, and also there is your Twitter handle. So everyone follow Tirritpa
Tirritpa Ritchie 67
on Twitter.
Yep.
Thank you very much.